And welcome back to the Over 40s Fitness Podcast. My name's Tristan Lowe, and here we are, early June 2024. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, I'm holding up here a copy of last week's supplement newspaper to the Times on Saturday. And the title of this article is "Ripped Teen Craze is TikTok to Blame." Now, the article was written by someone that is either freelance or employed by the Times newspaper, a woman by the name of Bridget Harrison. And in this article, she touches on or highlights and talks about her views on this, what she calls a craze, okay? Not a habit, not a long-term habit, a short-term habit, not health, but a craze of young men, boys from the age of 15, 16 and above, in her words, becoming obsessed with going to the gym, lifting weights and getting physically strong, or ripped as they call it. Now, the reason I'm doing this article today is because this is not the first time I've seen an article written quite often by a middle-aged woman in the UK or the USA talking about men's health and men's fitness. Notice how it's not written by a man in his 30s, 40s, 50s or 60s. It's written by a woman in her 40s or 50s because she's got children in their teens. Now, the article ordinarily only gave its slant on young men lifting weights in the gym from a passive or a blatant slant on it, talking about body dysmorphia and how these young men will get themselves into a mental or emotional state where they can't operate or do what they consider to be, in this article, normal things, normal daily things. Now, there are 101 reasons why young men should actually exercise and do resistance training. For those of you that know me, I've just come back from a trip to Japan, and I hardly saw any obesity or morbid obesity in the men there, men from the age of 15, 16, right up until the age of 70. And yet, that was in 2 weeks there. When I got back to the UK, I saw between King's Cross train station and getting back to Lincoln, I saw more obesity in men in that 2-hour period than I saw in 2 weeks in Japan. And here we are, and the day I got back, here's this article here, and it's a very, very, this is becoming the norm now, and that's for newspapers or some forms of social media to try and subtly or blatantly hoodwink the public, hoodwink into men into not lifting weights and not getting strong and not getting healthy. Now, there are physiological detractors. The body of a 13, 14-year-old, right up until probably mid-20s, hasn't fully formed yet. The body has to grow naturally through genetics, sleep, nutrition, and activity, but probably more importantly, up until the age of about 13, 14, genetics, and then after that, it would be sleep and nutrition, and then exercise. And there is an opportunity to pick up injuries, connective tissue injuries, ligaments and tendons, soft tissue injuries, your muscle, now that comes from the body not developing enough yet, or lifting weights with poor form. It doesn't come from just lifting weights. It doesn't come from resistance training or going to the gym. You show me 100 men, young men, aged 18, that go to the gym and lift weights. There's going to be injuries there. There's going to be aches and pains there, okay? And there's going to be a lot of those 100 young men that do get hooked or fascinated or even, addicted to weightlifting and weight training and how it makes them feel, how it makes them look. But you show me 100 18-year-old men that don't go to the gym, don't lift weights and don't do resistance sports, and I'll show you depression, obesity, anxiety, a multitude of physical, mental and emotional imbalances in people, in young men, because this is just the subject today, that don't exercise, that don't do resistance training, don't lift weights. Now, of course, it's a daily tabloid newspaper, and so therefore this article in the Times, written by Bridget Harrison, she actually tries to name and shame social media young men that are popular in social media that lift weights and get themselves big and covered in muscle. And there's a couple of names here, obviously American. Joey Swole, okay, and this guy, Brody Falgos, and of course Sam Sulek. And Sam Sulek, as we can see here, this young man here, he's become a social media phenomenon in America with millions of followers on his social media accounts, and he's only in his early 20s. Now, this is the modern day version of the 1970s and mid 80s of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, all those guys that were popular, world famous, making movies that lift weights, they were obsessive about their weight training and their fitness and their health. And look what it did for them. Yeah, these guys are in their 70s now and they're still exercising and training now. Had incredible careers, had ups and downs, bumps and bruises, but what they did do was they got the job done. Yeah, they didn't come from a background of laziness. They didn't come from a background or try and convince other men not to lift weights because you might get hurt, you might get injured, you might get obsessed. Well, you can get hurt, injured, obsessed with not doing that. And it's the probability is that if a parent, a mum, a dad, or a guardian, or a school teacher that are influential over young men, and then at a certain point newspapers like this, if they can convince young men not to actually go and lift weights and drink protein drinks and take creatine and compare themselves online with their friends and miss out on going into town drinking, miss out on going and getting inebriated, miss out on pharmaceuticals and getting involved in narcotics and drugs, and smoking and vaping. Well, you know what? That's okay to miss out on that because they're in the gym lifting weights. And guess what? They're back tomorrow in the gym lifting weights. Yeah, there's a push at the moment, and quite often, here we are again. This push is done by a middle-aged woman doing her report. Why have they not asked someone like me, someone like myself? I'm in my 50s. I've been lifting weights since I was not weightlifting, not powerlifting, but actually resistance training since I was the age of 11. In martial arts, basketball, golf, weightlifting. I'm a professional personal trainer that I've studied anatomy and physiology, and the probability is that sensationalism. They've picked out one or two really famous young men in America who've got huge followings because they've packed on a stack of muscle and they've got very clever social media platforms. And yet there will be elements of body dysmorphia or obsession where someone cannot actually function mentally, physically, emotionally, socially, unless it's something to do with going to the gym. But that's going to be far less than what I see on a daily basis, 7 days a week, and that's young men that are okay with being unhealthy and being unfit and being obese and smoking and vaping. Just to go back and circle back, I saw more obesity in men in 2.5 hours between King's Cross train station and Lincoln than I saw for 2 weeks in Japan. And that is the norm in the UK, of which, by extension, is obviously the norm in the USA and Canada and Australia. Okay, and these sort of articles don't help, because what happens is you could get another middle-aged woman or even a man, a husband, okay, reading articles like this, and then and they don't do the research and they're not experienced themselves. They're just reading something they've seen in the newspaper, and they think because it's in a newspaper, for want of a better word, a broadsheet of some description, therefore it must be fact. Okay, well, it's not fact. That is someone else's thoughts and opinions. And actually, it's interesting again. Let's go back to it again. They're not asking men in their 40s, 50s, or even men in their 20s or 60s to write these articles in these newspapers. They're asking middle-aged women. And the way of getting around it is, this middle-aged woman has got a son or has got 2 sons, and therefore that makes her qualified. That's actually not true. Even if, in the likely or unlikely event this woman studied anatomy and physiology, and this woman's actually worked as a profession in anatomy and physiology and worked in health clubs and gyms. Gyms and health clubs are some of the safest, most positive areas you can go to, you can send your son to, or your brother or your dad or your uncle. It's better that they go there Okay, it's better to have a sore elbow or a sore shoulder because they've been lifting weights, or it's better to be waking up at 5 a.m. to go and do their weightlifting than it is the exact opposite. And the exact opposite is what's actually wrecking our country's health. It's not guys that go and do bicep curls that are wrecking the health system in the UK. It's guys that don't. It's guys that get lazy, don't do the work, blame others for being overweight and out of shape, and then wonder why 5-10 years down the line they find it hard to socialise with anyone unless it's someone that's got obesity like themselves. Misery likes company, and articles like this fan that. Yeah, let's go back to that again. You know, if you see a group of guys, again, 18 to 50, 5 of them, okay, out drinking, out smoking, yeah, there's going to be 1, 2, or all of them. And if they're overweight, the chances are 3 to 4 of them are going to be overweight or obese. And the same thing with women. Often I see women in groups that are obese and out of shape and overweight. Misery loves company. And yet a bloke in his teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s will go to the gym on his own and lift weights. He wants to be around other people that are in great shape, that look good, that have good strong bodies. And again, there's still opportunity for those guys to get injured. I've had loads of injuries in my life playing sports, but here I am now, age 53, and I'm in great shape for a 53-year-old. Even with aches and pains from a lifetime of sports and exercise, I'm in better shape than 95% of 53-year-olds in the UK. And that would be the same for an 18, 19-year-old that eats 4 meals a day, takes his protein, takes his creatine, takes his vitamins, runs on the treadmill, gets on the rower, does a bit of swimming and lifts weights to get himself big and strong. That guy is going to be in better shape than the other guy who does none of that. Okay? Now again, let's just park it. Let's just look at it. You know, often the guys that go to the gym and get themselves strong and fit, at some point will get an injury. The body's designed to adapt to that injury and come back stronger. And that's it, as long as they've got they actually start learning quickly. You should be doing most of your learning in your teens and 20s, which will make sure that by the time you get to your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you can recover from an injury quick or do things to prevent injuries. Yeah. All right, so next time you go to your local gym, look at all the other young guys in there lifting weights, even the beginners. A raw beginner can go to a gym because he's fat, out of shape and looks awful. And you come back and see that guy 6 months, 12 months later. At the very least, he would have lost weight. At the very best, he's lost weight, lost body fat, and now looks better or feels better. And he can go home and say, look what I've achieved. You know, I've lost 10 pounds, I've lost 15 pounds. Yeah? So now step outside that gym and go to one of these places, a care centre or one of these safe spaces or whatever it is they call to try and hoodwink young men into not being strong and fit. Remember, if you are strong and fit, even if you've got a sore elbow or a sore back or a sore shoulder from weightlifting, you're going to be far more disciplined to take control, seize control of your career or your profession, your health, your decisions with friends, family, loved ones. Yeah, you are in a far better position, even if you've got a musculoskeletal injury because you've been doing too much weightlifting, not enough rest. You are, in a far better position, young man, to make good decisions. Yeah, stay away from physically unhealthy people. Yeah, equally stay away from people that cannot even string 2 words together because they're spending 6 hours a day in the gym. Okay, because that can be just as detrimental. But ordinarily, that is not the case. Yeah, this is sensationalism written by tabloids to try and convince us not to do it, and therefore making young men physically and mentally weaker by trying to subtly dissuade them from doing it. Next time you read an article like this, more often than not, again, it won't be written by a man who comes from a weightlifting background or a personal trainer or a physiotherapist, a man, a male. It'll be written by somebody's mum or someone's grandma, okay? Yeah, if I want to know about perfume and flowers, yeah, I'm going to go and speak to a woman. You know, if I want to know about daytime TV and dating shows and reality TV shows, I'm going to speak to a woman because that's going to be what she knows about. I'm just using an example here. Yeah. Go to the person that looks like you, acts like you, and ordinarily is older because they've already done it. Don't go and ask somebody's mum or someone's grandma about weightlifting and the benefits or the detractors. Okay, this is not a rank. This is an observation. All right. So next time, the likes of Sam Sulek and people like that, let them do it. Let them make all their money. Let them make their millions, and let a lot of young men follow them and look what they've done and think, yeah, you know what? I can have my career in the health and fitness industry and not be dissuaded by someone's mum or someone's grandma. You know, if you're 18, 19 years of age and your dad or your uncles or your granddad, none of them have gone to the gym. None of them have lifted weights. None of them have done a sport or a combat sport even. The probability is you are going to be fat, out of shape and lazy yourself with high levels of body fat. So look at your dad, your uncles, your granddad, if they're still here, touch wood. And if they are like that, if they've all been overweight and out of shape, you be the first one in your family bloodline on the men's side to stop that rot. You look at them and think, I don't want to end up fat and out of shape and depressed with anxiety like your dad, if your dad's fat and lazy. If you're a young man, don't follow him. If your dad is strong or your uncles are strong and fit and active, follow them. Yeah, okay, my name's Tristan Lowe. Quick discussion this morning. Next time we'll be talking about girls that don't exercise, young women of the age of 17, 18 and above. Okay? All right, thanks for watching and thanks for listening.